Let's go. Let's rock.
Welcome everybody to another episode 26 of the Hit Confirm. I am part of this wonderful, great cast. Casey, joined by two top tiers. First, Coach, how you doing, man?
I'm just doing all right, man. I had a pretty productive week. Uh, pretty hyped to get this talk off. We got a pretty good guest this week, so man, I'm just excited all around.
Yeah, man. I've been waiting for this moment for such a long time, and I know the other guy, man. Right? He's the other top tier I was talking about. He's like that anchor. I'll go first, and you go in second, and then he's going anchor like that, like KOF style, man. He's going in to handle all, take all the meter, dump it all. Because I don't know if you guys are ready, but he's ready. I'm joined by the one and only ShinKensou. How you doing, man?
Hey man, I am the hypest man right now. I was ready to get this cracking. I've been waiting for a hot minute dormant, just sitting here like a Kuma in the caves, out here in the catacombs, just sitting there training up. And here we are, finally getting ready to knock this one out, bro. I am super excited. I'm super excited.
That's what I like to hear. That energy is, whew, that's the energy I like, man. And so like what we're here to talk about today is like like I said, so much been going on in the FGC a lot lately, even through this, with the times that's been going on. So much talk, so much energy, mixed energy about a particular game. What is this game? People probably already know what we're talking about since we got the one and only Shinken's on here. Guilty Gear. But before we get into that, before we talk about Guilty Gear and Guilty Gear Strive a little bit, give us a little bit of history, where you come from, your background, and everything.
Well, let's see, where do I start? Well, I was a twinkle in my mom's eye, and she had me in Brooklyn, New York, and I eventually ended up in Houston, Texas. Nah, just playing. But no, I really am from Houston. I was born in Brooklyn. I've been playing Guilty Gear for well over 10 years now. From 2001 till here we are now. So yeah, that's a really long time. I've been in the Houston FGC about as long as that. Been, competing in Guilty Gear and several other games from CVS 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Third Strike, Rage of the Dragons, Blaze Blue, KOF, but my main games are Guilty Gear and King of Fighters. I will say that. Um, yeah, I've just been a prominent, person in the Houston scene from teaching people fighting games, showing people stuff, being a mentor, being, the homie. You name it, I've done it. TOing, I've helped run Texas Showdown for years. These days I've definitely taken a step back from that and been more on the content creation side, streamer, YouTuber. So yeah, my hands have been everywhere. My hands have been in every cookie jar. I've been doing all kinds of stuff, and here we are today, just still pushing the content. So
Yeah, man, you are omnipresent and everywhere in the FGC and all this content, and
yes,
great
sir.
great player, everything, man. Like I said, and I've done research on you in the past because before I met you, fun fact. I think this was before the time I saw you at that final round. I
Mm.
would lurk around on YouTube and I'll be like, oh snap, what is this Texas Showdown? Oh, I was literally just trying to find like videos on Guilty Gear, and I was like, oh, who is this Chaz? Oh, that's cool. And I was like, wait, ShinKensou. And then I started seeing videos, and I was like, yo, who's this guy? And then I saw you pop up at that final round, and I was scared because
Why?
because you were the enemy at the time. You were on the other side. You were a different teammate.
This man's
That's
at the
fair. That's fair.
enemy.
Yeah,
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. That's
but
fair.
you didn't become the enemy after what when I saw you beat Bozak, Elvin Shadow. I was like, wait a minute, he's not the enemy. Everybody's been having a hard time with Bozak, Elvin Shadow. I was like, wait, this guy just yo, never mind. He's a friend to me.
Yeah, man. A lot of people have a difficult time dealing with Bozak, man. Trust, he's definitely a great player, and especially around during that time frame, a lot of people are like, "Yo, Elvin Shadow's that dude." I was like, "Just let me get a crack at him, dude." Because like
Yeah,
me and Bozak, we've been going back and forth in Guilty Gear for years. From XX, AC, reload, all that stuff, man. He's definitely a great player and a good rival for sure.
Yeah. And when I saw that, I was like, whoa, man, like what other older Guilty Gear players are gonna come out the woodworks and just like show like, they're still here and and show the new players, what's up. And that's kind of like what I want to talk today, right? We all know about like, all the older players in the FGC and who to look up to and everything like that. But I want to help lay out the floor for the newer players, the ones that are kind of getting sidetracked on certain things on how to approach things, so to speak.
Mm.
Um, because a lot of us, let's be real, man. A lot of games, they're fighting games are hard. I don't care
Yeah,
what level you're at.
yeah.
Fighting games are hard. They're frustrating. They're mentally draining. We talked about that in our last episode. If you guys haven't checked it out, episode 25, check it out on man. But yeah, fighting games, they can be so draining. But there are people in this community that are willing to give their all to help, man. Uh, for anyone who's listening, man, like Kensou, he does so much. He does whatever he can when he can for this community. And there are people who just like he said, does content, always available on like social media to help. It's just don't be afraid to ask. We've gone through
Yeah.
this before on our past episodes, and I know you've gone through it on your streams, on Twitter, everything. Don't be afraid to ask. But in saying that, um, yeah, there's recently I want to talk about something recent that because I just came back with social media from my like little detox. I've been hearing some talks about like what is Guilty Gear Strive? What is it still going to be? Because apparently there was a recent post by Arxis again about what the upcoming beta and changes, and people were scared and saying it's this character is not like past Gear, how he was in the past, and yada yada yada. But then we had some people in the scene to kind of like set things straight and say, look, we haven't touched the game yet. We haven't seen everything in a whole. Like how. First of all, my question for you is how did you approach it when you first saw everything? Because I know a lot of people have this, I guess, the stereotypical way of thinking about older players. It's like old man doesn't like new things. He doesn't like his eggs. Don't put that strive in my exart, or don't put that exart in my AC plus R, or don't put that plus R in my AC. You like, how did you approach this or anything when it comes to new things for gear?
So I'll start with Xrd, right? Naturally, I've said this before. I was really excited for Xrd, so I didn't really play Plus R. And like my foray into Xrd was like, I'm just gonna give this 100%. Like for some people, they don't. Actually, I'll just put it this way. I ain't gonna talk about other people. I'm talking about me, right? Like for me, it's like this. I went so many years playing Blaze Blue, right? And I had to get adjusted to a whole new ninja, which was Bang, right? I didn't start out that way. I was definitely a Ragnar player at first. Then I moved on to Lychee, and then I lost a bet with KV and ended up being a Bang player. Uh, and it's just it was fun, but at the same time, I still missed playing Chip. And then obviously the plus R situation, everything moves forward and forward and forward. And then we finally get Xrd in our hands after staring at Japanese matches for like since February. What was it? It came out February 14th or something like that. I think it came out during Valentine's Day of 2014. And I was just staring at the game daily, looking at Chip, looking at it's like for me, it's like reuniting with something that like I came up with felt really good. So I was like, I don't care the nuances. This is my boy. This is my character. This is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna run this no matter what. Like no matter how difficult this gets, no matter how silly this game is. I love Guilty Gear and I love my character, so I'm gonna go with it. In terms of Strive, um, I have the same feeling. Like I'm gonna get used to the nuances. Like even now, I complain about how hard it is to go back and play Chip from playing Xrd for like 4 or 5 years, and then trying to erase all this muscle memory, all the tech that I've learned in Xrd to go back to go play Plus R and play old Chip, and it's like it really sucks. I have to go back and forth in that, but I don't feel like I'm an old dog that can't learn new tricks. Like, do not get it twisted. Like, you sit me in front of a game, I'm not trying to play anyone for like a week. I want to know how this works. I want to know how this ticks. I want to break down interaction. So, like, I look at it as a whole new experience for me and the people around me and the people who want to play the game. because I can sit here and say, hey, older players, hey, this isn't that bad, and they're just gonna still have their, they're still gonna have their misconceptions and their perspective, and who am I to tell them that they're wrong? But for those who want to play and learn, hey, I'm right here with you, big dog. I want a fresh new experience. I want to grow with the series because for what it's worth, right? I look at it kind of like this too, right? Like I've grown with the series, and the series has grown with me. I've watched Chip grow as a character, and like look at him now. He's like Hokage status. He's like, he's like the president. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like the character's gotten older, I've gotten older, and I know that that's kind of like it might sound like a weeb attachment, if you will, but like there's a lot of like, I guess maybe there was a point in my life where there was somewhat of an emotional attachment I had to the character and like his actual growth, and I see a lot of that in myself. So it's just a whole new experience, man. Like, why would I why would I not want to see what's going on in the life of Chip Zanoff and like grow with the character at this stage? Like, screw it, let's go.
Man, you actually don't see a lot of, I guess, character related to that degree where people relate to their character and they're able to channel that. Because you actually, when you were saying like, I like to grow with Chip Zana playing through all the games, you reminded me of a very famous Virtua Fighter player called Chibita, and he played the character
Hmm.
called Leon from VF2 all the way to VF5. He's one of the best, but he, like, no matter if that character's good, bad, whatever, he's like, through thick and through thin, it's me and you, buddy. And you reminded me a lot of that. So I think it's always really cool to hear that and to see people not only channel that, for themselves, but into the actual game.
Like I've been through. Don't get me wrong. I did play other characters to supplement with him because I know that certain times like reload was really bad for him. So I played like Soul. I played Johnny. I played Eddie. I played pretty much any character who was really good, and they tended to be fun anyway. It's not like I just immediately ran at top tiers. Like I found them fun anyway, and just to help when things got tough, and even certain matchups where I didn't feel confident to play Chip, I'd still play him regardless, just because I'm like, not just because he's my character, but because I know this matchup well enough with him that I'll just run it and just see where it goes. Like if the chips fall in the right spot, then cool. If not, well, so be it. See you next time. Um, but I don't know. I just love the character enough to the point to where it doesn't matter how difficult it gets. Like I won't deny a top tier to help me move forward in an event, but it doesn't mean after that event I'm not gonna go back in the lab and figure out how to win. 'Cause even though Chip may have his shortcomings, I feel like those shortcomings, when you learn to tackle those things, you become a better player because you have to be more crafty. Like you don't just. It's kind of easy to just hide behind top tier and like mask a lot of like your player weaknesses around your top tier. There's nothing wrong with that. People do that all the time. But like I think to ultimately push yourself, sometimes you have to play out the bad matchup. Sometimes you have to like think more objectively about how you can approach a matchup with all your tools. Sometimes it sucks to be limited by like like a character like completely negates a lot of your options in just neutral, so you have to play a lot more carefully. You have to think a little bit more, and there's nothing wrong with critically thinking a little bit more than your opponent. You just have to put your opponent in a compromising position where your tools now becomes very strong because the way that you're playing the matchup changes things. So it went from like my normals are whack and neutral to, man, I made it to where my normals are oppressive and neutral because of the way that I'm playing the matchup. I'm not playing like a standard like, you know, take Ryu low forward fireball. It's really strong if you know how to walk forward, if you know how to intimidate your opponent with your walk speed, your dashes, your dash backs, your jumps, and if you can space yourself properly, you can scare people. So it's basically scaring people into believing that this is a lot more oppressive than it actually is and taking advantage of their fear. And it kind of gets lost in the sauce with this because everyone just kind of, and I'm not knocking out anyone who wants to play top tier. Don't get me wrong, but it's always good when you're able to push the agenda, even if your character has weaknesses, top tier or not.
Yeah, yeah, I can actually relate to that because in the past I've seen myself constantly switch characters until I finally stick to a character and I like excel with them. But like, what's interesting about gear in this aspect of like that, like you said, that character love. Um, you rarely see the players switch to different characters. They become that specialist, and people look up to these players and they start to like look up at these videos and so on and so forth. Um, with do you feel like Strive is gonna kind of break in that mode a little bit, where it's like you're not gonna have to feel that jealousy of playing of just looking at the other opponent's character and it's like, oh, I would like to play that character. I mean, even though I'm good with this character and I love this character, and everything, but I also would like to play Axel. He looks pretty cool in this game. Do you think like that's what they're trying to do with like because that's what it seems to me, and I think that's pretty cool actually because you don't have to put in X amount of time to learn the next
Mm.
character, you know?
I do feel like in simplifying the kits, there a lot of the characters are a lot more appealing than they've ever been, to be honest. Especially Axel, right? Since you mentioned him, like Axel in particular was never really a popular character, and like the time in Xer when it's like, hey, let's give him something cool now, let's give him something new, give him Sparrowhawk stance. That thing's freaking awful, you know. But this time around, they really looked at his kit and they rounded him out, and it's like, you know, why not play him? You know, he fulfills the role of a zoner. He can rush down. He has really good neutral return. So like, and he pushes the agenda of like he pushes the playstyle of like real estate, like in screen control, because some people get zoning confused when we say zoner, so I should just put screen control out there. But yeah, I think every character is appealing, and I think there's nothing wrong with like understanding a character on a basic level. You know, having everyone just try out the characters on a basic level is good. And if you want to take it to the next level, well, that's where the system mechanics come in. That's when the matchups come in. How you deal with stuff in neutral, defense, offense. You know, it's gonna go past the surface level if you continue, obviously. So you basically get a chance to grow with the character. So if people so choose to want to keep trying different things out, that's fine. I mean, there's always going to be a learning curve. So I think Guilty Gear's always kind of sort of been that way, where every character seems appealing, but like in the older games in particular, like there's a lot of nuance. So like it makes it so you really kind of want to stick to that character. Doesn't mean people can't play others, but this time around, it definitely seems like you can play multiple characters for sure.
Yeah, because I always admired like other fighters like Street Fighter and KOF. And a lot of times you watch like even at high level play, you watch the top players switch to different characters at any point in the match, and you just learn so much, and the gameplay is still at a high level. And it's I always admired that, but I always also on the other hand, and this is the gear side of me, I always like that whole I'm just sticking with my character, not doing anything else. I'm going to fight to the end. But like after personally for me, after playing gear for years, I would like to see like the whole aspect of like a player can be flexible with different characters, and I kind of see that they're trying to do that with not just for like higher level players, but for like newer players as well. When you see like how the characters are being introduced with the stars and how easy and hard they are, and I'm like,
Mm,
oh, they're really trying to push that across. So that's one thing I really like that that I noticed that it seems like they're trying to do. You
for
know.
sure, I agree.
N-
I agree.
Now, there's also the aspect of let's see, a lot of players find themselves stuck into the mode of just how to uh, the information part of things,
Mm,
how to gather the information and like and it seems like in the past with gear it was so like it kind of seemed like a esoteric thing where it's like only a certain group of people when you go to a certain place only know about a few things, and now everything is open and like on the content aspect of things. um I feel like now it's like everybody has a chance to like give themselves a go on where to find you know whatever aspect of the game that they're trying to find. So what my question to you is, if you're new, in this day and age of fighting games, how would you approach it? Because it's so much coming at you, and I can understand how some people they get frustrated when another person is like, "Yo, you can come to me. It's okay to come to me." It's like, well, I'm already watching this other player, and he's already helping me out. Like, what makes me want to go to you? Like, I could see how like people can get so overwhelmed with that. If you were new, and how would you navigate these waters?
I would pick maybe 3 to 5 players and study and just do my own research. Because while I'm not afraid to ask questions, I'm still that person that I like to find meaning beyond meaning. So like I'll like dissect something as deep as I can, do my best to ask questions where I can as well. But you know, through watching players play, I could decipher things. But I guess that's also because I'm thinking about it from an already long time player standpoint. But I guess yeah, I look at it in the case of like Apex, right? So I'm new to Apex, so I watch like quite a few streamers who are really good at the game, really high level, and try to ask questions in those streams and kind of see how they play, check out the montages. So yeah, for Apex, I have yeah, just like that. I have like I feel like 3 to 5 streamers in particular that I watch, and I just ask questions and try to pay attention to how they do things because there's always gonna and I pick them for different reasons, right? There's one that's a stylish player. There's the fundamental guy. There's the guy that's kind of like the mixture of that. You have the other guy that's passive aggressive. There's also there's 2 or 3 females that I watch, and they have different playstyles too, like their decision making. And I just try to like look at how those things work and how I can apply that to my gameplay. Now, granted, they're also way higher level than I am, so some of that thought process kind of goes to the wayside at the lower levels of play. So I have to kind of dumb it down in that regard. So being the objective person that I am, I would kind of figure out, okay, well, this doesn't work at this level, so I have to be a little bit smarter, but know that this is a thing because, you know, if they're doing it, it definitely must be a thing. But here, I have to just dumb it down just a wee bit. So yeah, it's kind of like a just acknowledging the level of play in which that I'm at and trying to just adjust those things to that level of play, basically. So that's pretty much what I would do.
Yeah, I definitely feel like people miss that step, like you mentioned, like the high level to low level, because like when a lot someone comes to the Discord and like I think this game's cool and I want to play as Axel, and you're like go watch these two players, Yosuke or whoever, and then they're watching with no real frame of reference of how all of it works, and so they see these moves coming out, and then when they try those moves, they get hit in the face, and they're like, I saw this person doing it. Why am I getting hit? But they don't know about like the layers before that, where there's these moves are being respected, and they know that you can punish this move, and all that stuff led up to why they can use those moves. And so, like a lot of times, one of my suggestions would be like, watch people of all levels and try to see what's going on, like overall, like you said, try to be more objective about how you're playing, how they're playing, and you'll start to see like they're doing that move and it must be because it's good, but how can they do that move? Oh, they have to establish X, Y, and Z first, and
Right.
now I see why they're doing it. So that kind of thing kind of gets lost in translation.
Well, for sure. I agree. 100%. It's everyone this is something I say all the time, and this is why my simplicity and complexity videos kind of been blowing up because I've been saying like you can watch all this cool stuff, and I know a lot of people want to do the cool thing, but you can't do the cool thing without your fundamentals. You can't get to that stage in the game without setting that up. People don't understand that when they're watching matches and stuff like that there's a reason why these guys are doing it. Obviously, reason behind, reason. Meaning beyond meaning, excuse me. And maybe, and I say this all the time, people sometimes they lack the critical thinking skills, and that also comes into cause and effect. Because this player did this, what's the response? AKA the effect. So, and because I know and I understand the concept of cause and effect, me coming in as a new player, that wouldn't really hurt me. But that's something I would suggest for a lot of new players is try to understand cause and effect. Rewind stuff. Like, don't just watch matches. Yes, for anyone who's listened to this podcast, yeah, don't just watch matches and oh that was cool. Like rewind and like literally spend time digesting that one video and try to understand different situations. Like if someone jumps, then you understand that an anti-air is pretty straightforward, but understand that there's like 10 more options that could have been done there, or you know, there's always a reason why something worked. Like, man, this guy landed like 6 command grabs. Well, why was that a thing? Well, maybe this player has an inherent fear of this character, or maybe that player has instilled the fear of God in him, so he refuses to press a button, or he refuses to challenge, or he refuses to try to escape. So you understand that those things are also taken into consideration. So there's always a reason behind something. Sometimes people just kind of throw things out, but you should still try to question why that is. And the quicker you get good at critical thinking, then this part of learning gets easier because then you start asking more questions, and that's the way to improve is to keep asking questions. And even if it's to yourself or your peers, the more you question things, and not in a negative way, right? Not like, oh, that's stupid. Why just it's good? Hey, that's fine. We can definitely be that way for that short period of time, but you still have to go back and think about, why this is good, how you can play around it. Why was that a good decision? Why was that a bad decision? Why did you lose life here? Why didn't you block there? Et cetera, et cetera. Like the list goes on and on. I can do this for days. So yeah, that's also part of my advice to newer players as well.
Yeah, I recently, for example, I was having problems when I was fighting KB Nova, and I just did not know what to do in the match. Period. So I was like, let me watch like any video and just like see if I can catch like something for where it just brings me back to basics. And let me see what move that I don't use or button that I don't use that I probably need to use often, or so to speak. And then I saw a video where somebody was using 6H um with and that just I don't know if anybody knows this, that when she swings the guitar stance around. And I only know I look back and I was like, I only use this move when I'm whiffing a throw. And that's a good and a bad thing, because it hits and you get counter hit, cool, you get a combo, whatever. But I was like, I need to use this move in different applications. And I was watching the video and I was like, man, I just need to use it, fill it out, see what happens, and then like see how I feel about it. And I was like, wait a minute, this is a better space control than I thought. And I started using it, and I was like, wow. And it took me back to the basics, right? Like, where here, when I first played the character, I was like, oh, this button is weird because her buttons are very specific. Why wouldn't I want to use this? And then once you start to get used to it, it's like, all right, now I know when to use this. I feel confident and yada yada. And then once I started using them, I was like, whoa. Now I feel like this button is godlike. And the coach knows all that. I'm like that because like there's always that point when you're playing with a character in any fighting game, for that matter. It's like you there's a button you hate, you despise. Even everybody else is probably talking down on it, but you see somebody else use it, or you start using it, and you're like, wait, this button is godlike. And then you start talking it up, and you're like, you don't know, you don't understand. And they're like, now you're tripping. But then it's just that's when everything starts to click. And that's like that learning curve that like, it's a hump you got to get over. It's kind of hard because like sometimes the way these games go, they go so fast that you win or lose so quickly. You just don't know what's going on. But like you said, if you take the time to go back and look at your matches, even mess around in training mode with just pressing the button, literally, it's that simple sometimes. Just pressing the button to get a feel for it. Then you're like, wait a minute, I think I might know some applications for this. So yeah, getting comfortable. So like, so my next question is, or I guess it's not really a question. How do people let's see, how do people get to understand the what is this stereotype of, or I think we touched on it earlier, but what is the stereotype of gear of it being hard? Because me, in my personal opinion, I'll just say this. I think this stems from certain characters being hard. Certain characters, right? Like, the Inos, the Zatos. And people see those characters, because I had a moment one time when I was playing at a local, and I was sitting down at a casual station, and a guy just walked up. I don't even think I was there for gear. They just had a gear casual station. I was there for Marvel. Guy walked up and he was like, oh, you play gear? I was like, yeah, you want to play? He's like, no, I don't play this game. This game has Zato in it. And I was like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, this game has Zato and it's cheap and it's hard. And I was like, you don't want to play it? You don't? That's why you don't like the game, because it's hard and cheap and everything like that? And I was like, who would you play? Start asking more questions and stuff. Because I will play Zato, but the game is hard. And I was like, and then that narrative started going around again once Strive got talked about and released. I started hearing people saying gear is hard, and I was like, you know what? I think it's two things. I think gear can be hard, but it depends where you're going with it. Because like, honestly, this shit isn't black and white. It can be complicated sometimes, but you can also make it simple for yourself. Don't make it so stressful. And there's a lot of players I talk to that always they started off playing gear with a simple character and just a simple approach to the game in general, and they just like they took it from there. They didn't start off with playing like the Testaments and all that complicated. It was like, oh, I'll start off playing Soul or Kai in the beginning because I came from Street Fighter, and then like now I hear the narrative is like, oh, if you play Soul or Kai, you're the quote unquote basic bitch. And that's not true. Some people just gotta learn, you gotta take baby steps. It's fundamentals. And then once you get into it. So yeah, basically what I'm saying is, characters like that give the game a bad rep. well, of the whole, this game is hard and everything like that. So what is your opinion on it? It's like, is Gear hard? Is it easy? What is it? Where does it stand?
I think Guilty Gear as a whole has an intermediate learning curve. I think as you get higher, that's when it gets harder.
Hmm.
I think coming into Guilty Gear in particular, like AC plus R and maybe like Rev at this stage, yeah, now it's hard. See, the issue is most people don't start with Guilty Gear when it comes out. They come into it midway through or at the end. So like it's already at so take plus R. All these new players playing plus R and they're like, this game's hard. I'm like, yeah, you know, no shit. Of course it's hard. You're coming into the game at the very end of it. Man, Rev 2's hard. Yeah, I'm sure it is because you're coming in at the end of Rev 2. Like, you guys need to a lot of people they want to come in late. Like they don't start with the game, so that also comes into the that to me plays a big factor in terms of the game being hard because all these people tend to come into Guilty Gear late more often than not. Now, for those who kind of come into it midway through, I think again they're back on the intermediate point, But like in this case, I guess from a general consensus standpoint, I don't agree with it. It's just people hear one thing and they just kind of regurgitate the same thing over and over again. And these are the same people that'll go sit there and play Marvel 3 and just start playing Marvel 3 and just have a ball. Oh man, this game is hard. But like, think of it this way, right? This is the truth. The same people who say that are the same people who play Marvel 3 and they play Dante and they say that, you know, Zato's hard. But you're out here throwing out hammers, doing, bow cancels. Bow cancels aren't hard? Well, bow cancels, technically speaking, are kind of easy. Okay. So we're just going to throw out stingers and bow cancels, no problem. Okay, cool. Right. Just like how, I don't know, we could name like, the same guys who say that Zato's hard, the same dudes that play Modoc. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, so it's kind of like one of those scapegoat like statements. It's like it's such a big blanket statement to just not want to play the game. It's just like, well, people always say, they want like complicated games. They want games that have tech. They want games that have this, that, and the other. And then this game is right in front of them, and they're like, I don't know, dog. Street Fighter should be more complicated, so you don't want to play Guilty Gear. Well, it's not that I don't want to play Guilty Gear, it's just it's too hard, but I want the complicated game, so you're afraid. It's not that I'm afraid, it's just, it's like, so what is it, dog? Like, where is it at? Like, come on, man. Like, I've heard this for so many years. Like, people don't like Street Fighter 5, it's not complicated enough, it's not this, it's not that. Here's Guilty Gear. Guilty Gear has all that stuff you're talking about. Oh, it's too anime. Listen, it's a fighting game. Street Fighter's anime, Tekken's anime. Let's just keep it a buck. They all had animations to some extent, and they're made by Japanese companies. All right. Now that we've established that all these games are anime, because I mean, people who talk about Guilty Gear being anime are the same people who sit here and play Xiao Yu. Other like Sakura mains. Like, come on, bro. Come on. May is over here, okay? You can come over here. You can come on, man. You got for what it's worth. Elfeld out here repping Guns N' Roses, and she's damn good. All right. Arxis finally made a gun character good outside of Noel. So come on. Like even though I don't like that character like that, come over here and come learn a thing or two. A lot of people like Soul, but people pretend like that like people front like they don't like Guilty Gear because like they don't want to be seen as like a weeb or some nonsense like that. So I don't know. I feel like there's just so many misconceptions of the game as a whole, but generally speaking, it's just a regurgitation of this is hard when every fighting game at any level, even just learning is hard. So it's like once you get past the learning curve or whatever, and even then, the learning curve also depends not just on the character, but it also depends on the person playing the game and how you perceive the game and how how quickly or how slowly you learn. Like people expect that everyone's gonna learn the same. Oh man, Guilty Gear is a hard game. Well, maybe it was hard for you, but I know some other people who picked the game up and did just fine. So maybe the concepts are difficult for you to understand. So here, let's sit down and break it down so you can, get to the point where you can start really playing the game. But people don't like to seek out that extra help. Some people feel like they can just do it all on their own, and no knock to that. I respect it. I'm sort of the same way. But I do feel like at that stage, it's always good to look, take a step back. It's overwhelming. Take a step back, look at the game, maybe watch some videos on your character and try to piece it together, and then come back with fresh eyes after you slept on it, maybe thought about it some more, and let's go get it because you know people will sit here and play League of Legends and learn how to play Lee Sin, do all these ward hops and all this crazy stuff. They'll play Apex, do all these like crazy wall jumps and blase blase whoop de woo. Call of Duty 360 no scope. But you mean to tell me Guilty Gear's too hard? But you over here doing this in Call of Duty and playing League? Come on, man. Come on, baby. Come on now.
Yeah,
Stop playing with me.
I feel like that's kind of always been like that looming curse over a lot of fighting games. Like Casey mentioned, like you got KOF. Well, I got to learn three characters. I just want to play one. And it's always going to be something. And you realize if somebody wants to play the game, they're going to sit down, pick up the controller, and it is going to even if they just got to mash out moves, they're going to play at the end of the
Absolutely.
day.
I agree. I agree.
Man, you rung up something that really hit me. A lot of players don't look at themselves as in an individualistic way. Like they first see the game, see if it's first of all it's fun or not, then see who's strong, and if they like the character, then they'll play it and go through that way. They miss the whole point sometimes. That whole expression. That was like my number one thing, especially when I started off Marvel. Like when player nowadays, I see people they go on social media, who's strongest, oh cool, I'll play them, or that's all it is. It's like they skip steps, the fun part, and it's okay. And I think Sajam talked about this in his video. It's like it's okay that you're not like you're not good. You may be the worst player in the world starting off a game. That may be for a month, maybe even years. Who knows? But eventually, that's the whole point of learning something, right? At some point, you're going to get to a point where you have all the knowledge, and then you can apply it in the way you can and how you want to apply it. And
Agreed.
that's something that's like I feel like that's dying out. And then people, the biggest excuse I see people use that for is, oh, the game is easy, no expression, so I can't express it. It's like what?
Yeah, it's always something like you can't be afraid to play in the mud, play in the sandbox, and a lot of people are because, like you mentioned before, like there's a common thing I will see in like Discord or someone like I'm interested in playing Third Strike. Is so and so good? Like you haven't played the game, just turn it on and play it. Before, like my number one advice to any player is play the game, and then we can
Oh,
go from there.
agreed. 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 Like, I'll put it like this, right? I'm okay if someone wants to know what's good and what's bad because that also kind of lets you know what kind of work you have ahead of you. So that's okay. But like, don't like even if you want to play top tier, don't act like you're just gonna skip the steps of going through the rigmarole of learning how to play the game and being good first before anything. Because it doesn't matter if you have a top tier if you can't pilot the top tier. Like everyone has counter strategies to your top tier, and I've heard countless people before, say for example playing Xer and they're playing Elfelt and they're like, man, this is an easy win. So yeah, I know it's not. I'm not gonna let you get this for free, dog. No one's gonna let you get these dubs for free. Just because you pick the best character in the game, that does not mean free wins. You have to learn how to play. When you learn how to play and be oppressive, then this matchup swings the other way around. But until that time, you have to put time into learning how to be good. Like people want to be good right away, but don't want to do the steps necessary to be good. It's like it's kind of interesting when you think about it, right? Like people want to be good at fighting games and like competitive games so fast, right? Yet like you go to a job, you apply for your job, you do your job, you apply for it. That's why there's entry level positions. You don't apply year one. I'm fresh out of college. Yeah, dog. We're gonna go over here and we're gonna become regional district manager. Big dog, please. You better stay in your lane.
Start off as CEO.
Yeah, can I get the application for CEO, please? I don't want to do all the other stuff.
Yeah, yeah, all that working up to the top. No, 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 no. Look, I went to college. Okay, so it says right here I got a bachelor's degree. Yeah, so you're gonna go in that entry level position. I don't think you heard me right. I said I'm trying to get that CEO. Yeah, I know. So we're gonna put you down here at entry level. We're gonna give you this pay, et cetera, and that's gonna be your job. Man, like yeah, you gotta go through the steps, dog. You can't get the six-figure salary without going through the steps. You gotta put in the work. You gotta go through the motions. It's no different than when you play competitive games. Like you don't just go, yeah, man, I just started playing Apex, bro. I'm about to be up there with TSM Half. Okay, big dog. Can you even aim? No. Okay. And I'll tell you, even for me, like I'm not great at this game either. I enjoy playing it. But it's the same thing. Like if I intend to like take for example one of my favorite Apex players is Shiv. if I ever want to get up there, I gotta bust my, I gotta bust my chops. I'm still in, I just got silver today, man. I'm still, you know, you
Yeah, I
still
saw
gotta,
you going in, man. Yeah.
yeah, like it's reps. You know what I'm saying? Not every game's gonna go the same, but like, you gotta go through the steps. This isn't just pick up. Like pick up and play is fine, but pick up and be top tier immediately? No, not without having some kind of fighting game experience. It's just not gonna happen. You have to put in the work. Period.
And that kind of attests to your like, something that kind of probably died out for a lot of to this in this day and age, especially with the pandemic, with the whole because you come from like the arcade era, and during that time there was you because when you have like a lot of stamina when you play, and a lot of players, even some newer players out here, they'll play like a set and then they'll get like really tired. And I don't know their like their health situation and some, but like in most cases, or I'm starting to hear like a lot. I would hear a lot of people just like like get tired real quick, and I'm like, whoa, like it's it's okay to it's okay to take breaks and everything like that. But then, like you said, mentioned earlier, the reps. Sometimes, or most cases, that's why like when you do anything competitive, like sports or something like that, you do these reps. Even like I don't know if you guys play like basketball or anything like that, or any sport actually in the past. Um, you always have like you run up and down the court, and I will never forget when I was in high school or whatever. I was first thing people be ready to play basketball. Like you said, people ready to get that. Oh, let me make me CEO. People ready to play basketball. Oh, I'm the best point guard. I'm all this blah blah blah. I can shoot. And then the coach is like, all right, everybody stand up. Everybody's right, ready. They hype. They're ready to go, ready to play. All right, we're gonna run.
Yup.
And it was wait, what? And I never. Every time this happened, I'm like, I know this is going to happen. I knew this was going to happen. Why are you guys not ready for this? Next thing you know, the best player, first one saying, Coach, I don't want to do this. Oh, man, come on, man. You got to make these runs, man. Unless you want to be the next so-called Michael Jordan or LeBron James or Steph Curry, man. Like, you got to do these, like, reps, get it in you, get the muscle memory and get it in your head to, like, good on. You know, it's very rare, very, very rare that people have things like these talents to where they can just get up, do it, bang, that's it. And
Hmm.
even people with talent, they have reps. If you ever sit down and talk with a person who's like who, and you ask them about their talent and you tell them how they get there, for the most part they'll tell you it was actually a lot of reps. It was just probably like in a weird way. So like you gotta start, just gotta start from the bottom. I don't
Yeah,
know. It's as simple, and I know it's probably cliched at times, but you do have to start at the bottom to get to the top.
it's true. It's true.
Um, and then like to harp back on that expression, it's like, and what people's when people like use the excuse of like a game being simple, like with Strive, and the characters not being the same. I have a couple friends where like they're gonna play the game, but I'm not gonna take it as serious as Exord or Plus R because so my character is like not as, it's kind of different, whatever. Even though they made changes to the game, and it's like, look, wait. Look at Soul, right? There are players that don't play Soul that thinks he's basic, but then over time, they're like, wait, they see a good Soul player and they're like, wait, he's doing all these things with Soul I've never seen before. So whoa, and this is not basic stuff. It's like it's not hard. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this. That's a lot of reps, training, and probably years that went into it. So like you can take something like like you said, like you could take something very simplistic and make it complicated if you have all the tools in place. But first, you got to have the tools in place. You got to have the tools in general. I mean, like you got to have that. You can't even have the tools if you don't even start.
Yep.
You know, we could go on for days with this. I have more analogies,
For
but
sure.
yeah, you gotta. It's okay to like start off really really bad people, and this goes for more for and even some players who have played gear in the past and want to get back into it. It's okay that you're starting over, relearning. The players that never beat you before. Oh, let's talk about this real quick. The players that never beat you before, now they're beating you. It's okay. Look,
It is okay.
you
You have to accept.
have to accept that. And that's life. You're not going to be good all the time every day, all day. And I don't want to put all the blame on the players in terms of like, the whole excuse. I will say some of that excuse can go towards the age of the, like, the internet that we live in with the whole pandemic and everything. Because the narrative is pushed on so much onto that, like, you got to play top tiers, got to be good right away because we just have the internet. Before we had all it, just like, before the pandemic, you guys both know this. It's like you go to a tournament, you have like, your stuff ready, and then you'll get blown out the water, and you're like, wait a minute, what? And whether you're playing top tier or not, you had like some good move, strategy, and it just got destroyed. Gotta go right back to the drawing board, and there's no online excuse for that. And that's one thing I feel like that's missing. It's like that whole reality of like, of losing in a way where it like opens your mind. You're like, wait a minute, I, I didn't know I was like, I still have
Oh,
work to do.
I'm so glad you said that because, and the interject here is like, that's something that I tell people all the time when they're like, for example, yeah, man, I'm just an aggressive player, dog. I just get in there, I just rush it down, dude. I make sure no one can play the game. Like, okay, cool. And then you come across people like me or people who are like, play the passive aggressive play style, just really defensive. And me, I play passive aggressive. And I just sit here and I let you kill yourself because I'm like, I don't need to outrush you. You're just gonna run head first at me. I'm just gonna counter hit you every single time. And then what's gonna happen? I'm gonna get the life lead, and then you're gonna panic. So once you get in the panic mode, I've already won. Like it doesn't matter if I do the biggest combo on you. I just need to establish a life lead to some capacity and look at the clock and then just look at you. Because at that stage in the game, there's nothing else I need to do. I literally have won the game. I started out the game already winning because you thought that you can get over aggressive. Period. That's it. Like it's almost sad when you think about it because people come in with this pre notion like, yeah, man, I'm told that rush down is what wins games. That's what it looks like. It looks like rush down wins games, but like what wins games is a proper balance of offense, defense. Playing passive, observation. Reacting, responding to certain things, and like it gets lost in the sauce. And then I've had people come back at me later on when they lose and they're like, "Man, I see what you mean. You really can't play like that." I'm like, "Oh, so you get it after you've lost, in tournament, right? It didn't. Me telling it to you wasn't enough. You had to go get beat up to understand, and yeah, and that's fine. People are trial by fire. That's totally okay. Trust me. I get that. But like, it has to be understood that like sometimes people have to suffer that severe loss to get that wake up call. And I try to preach you shouldn't. I don't want you to go through that, but it is a part of playing competitively. It is a part of playing, and even if it's a tournament set or a casual set, like sometimes people don't recognize, like, yeah, man, I'm super cold, da 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 da. They get offline and they just realize that they're not these online tactics don't work. Like those freaking 7 frame freaking Xer Kai players tossing out Greedseever every 5 seconds because it's like they have this over reliance on this move and like, yeah, I'm winning because I'm doing damage. Yeah, because you're really bad at opening up your opponent, so you had to abuse lag in order to get the dub. But when you come offline and people start reacting to it, they start doing reversals, they instant blocking and punish, they jump at you and air throw it. Like someone like me, I see that I'm a 6P into counter hit, and what are you gonna do? Burst? I'll just jump cancel that 6P, react to your burst, instant block that, come back to the ground, do a bigger combo, and I'm gonna just be like, hey man, that's your fault, dog. You tried to abuse something that didn't work, and now look at you, rude awakening, and now you're like, I can't play like that, man. I have to play like this. It's like, yeah, sometimes people have to go through that, but it sucks. But hey, that is the way to improve, man. Sometimes those crucial losses shape how we play. That shape who you are as a player.
For
You
sure.
know.
Actually, I think it's a kind of a combination of what you said. Like when like, hey, you shouldn't be doing that grease server. It doesn't work on X and X, Y, Z. And then you're like, and then they're like, nah, I'm gonna do it, and they get whooped. But I think like when you have that realization and you think back to somebody telling you, that's when it really clicks. Because there's a lot of time my mentor would tell me something, and at the time, like I would get it, but I wouldn't understand it. And so like I
Mm.
would go play a match and I would realize where I was being stubborn, and then like that moment and that advice would just like sync up, and I'd be like, he did say that. Now I see why, and it all kind of came together. So sometimes I think like even if they're stubborn, you still got to put it in their head that this is what you need to do or this is what you need to look for, and then when that moment happens, then like that's when the magic happens because you gotta get the moment for yourself. No one can make something click for you. Like no
Yeah.
matter how good your advice is, no matter how knowledgeable you are, you as the recipient has to have that moment yourself for however way it comes. So that is something that like when you point that out, I had a lot of moments like that where I had to like, oh yeah, 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 I get it now. And so it kind of came together like that.
I think that's still a good thing because you have that realization moment. It's like, okay, and now it's just add that to your freaking knowledge bank. It's just another chapter in the books for you to go back and look at. Like, okay, now I'm just gonna take this concept, I'm gonna run with it, I want to expand on it because that's how you become the better player, right? That's how we become the best players we could possibly be is when we have that big compendium of strategies and like thought processes or concepts that we can just go back and try to refine and refine and refine and refine, and then next thing you know, it's like you're in top 8 and it's like, damn, all my hard work,
Man,
all those losses, and here we are.
they all built you up. And like I say this a lot, like the fighting games are they're basically the scientific method. You come up with a hypothesis, you test it, and you isolate the results, and then you do it all over again. A lot of people
Yep.
make it more complicated. It's just the scientific method. Come up with your own. Look at these moves and go, this move swings around in the air. Is it a good anti-air? Well, let me test it. It doesn't look like it because it comes out too slow, or the hurt box is too high. And now you got a new hypothesis. Well, I could use this move for something else, or I need to use this for an anti-air. So like always like be thinking about like critical thinking. You mentioned that so much. That's to me that's a big thing I'm a fan of because like cause and effect, and then you start understanding where implied threats are. Because if you don't really think beyond what's happening to you, you don't understand things that are not happening to you, which are probably more important than things that are happening to you.
Yeah, because like when you're playing, let's say you're playing a casual set, right? Going back to these sets and reps, right? And I got a little story on reps really fast. Like your goal when you're playing is to utilize your goals while you're playing, right? So like, all right, I'm playing against this dude. I don't know who he is. I'm gonna practice my anti-airs for this set. As long as we're playing, like even if it's ranked, doesn't matter. Street Fighter, 2 out of 3, right? All right, this dude, I'm gonna practice my anti-airs. It doesn't matter about the rank points, whatever. We'll just get this down. Or I'm gonna practice on my ground game. Okay, cool. I'm not gonna jump. Okay, cool. And you just keep putting that in the repertoire, and you start being so much better at each one of those skills that you keep isolating. And the thing on reps, it's a funny short story I'll say really fast about myself. For the longest time, way back in the day, when Naruto was really popular, you know, all my boys were like, "Yo, you're the freaking Rock Lee of this shit, dude. Like, I don't understand you." And what do you mean? Like, dude, you just freaking train so much. Like, why do you grind all this stuff like that? I'm like, well, I want to be good at this. I want to sit down and like hammer it out. And it's like, yeah, I've suffered some crazy losses. I've had some of the biggest upsets. A loss I still have to hold to this very day is I actually lost to Ricky Ortiz in Guilty Gear at Midwest in 2004. And that time frame, that I'll never get that run back, you know.
Dang, yeah.
And that's something I have to hold. It was still fun being able to play against Ricky at that time frame, but still, it's still an L that I have to hold. And I think pretty much from each loss, it's like back to training mode, back to training mode, back to training mode, back to training mode, and like you know, even in matches, like Casey will tell you, he's watched my streams. I will play someone until it is first to pass out. It's not first to 10. It's first to it's first who's ever willing to stop. And I'll tell you right now, I'm not the one to stop. So I will sit here and grind a game with you until you're like, I'm done. It doesn't matter. You could play all the characters in the world. I will sit here and play. Now, there are certain games I prefer people to kind of stick to a character so I can just learn a matchup. But if I'm already familiar with the game, I don't really care that much. But it doesn't matter to me. I'll just sit here and grind it out, and it's like, oh, I lost to that. Again, Casey will tell you, I will sit in training mode the entire stream or half a stream, doesn't matter. I will sit here and grind out this one option with every character, so I know how each character can deal with it and how my character can deal with it. This way, this I can spread this information to my stream and the people who are watching. So if they play this character, okay, here's how you can handle with this situation. This way, it improves. Again, knowledge bank, and reps. But here's the thing: I can show you all this stuff, but you gotta be the one to put it into motion. You still gotta do what I'm doing. Sit there, lab it out, get the reps, get used to seeing it, get the eye for it, and then start recreate the scenario mid match. Force the opponent to do that thing that you practice so that you can get the reward. It's like, all right, I spent all day learning how to do this. I'm gonna make you jump, and I'm gonna do this big combo on you, or I'm gonna do this, and it doesn't even have to be a big combo, right? It's just a punish. And then like when I swear I'm telling you, man, like once you start learning to shut people's options down, people start getting afraid and they don't want to do the things that make their game normal. And now it instills that fear, and they're like afraid to play neutral that way. So now neutral's dominated just because you shut down one option. Because at the end of the day, shutting down options so important in fighting games. Like taking someone's strengths and making them weaknesses, that is a skill and that takes time. So, get your reps, man. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. I went on a little bit of tangent there, but
No,
that's just
no,
what it is.
that was perfect. No, like taking away somebody's like button just mentally is the greatest thing because now it's like you can break them down. Like it reminds me of like I don't know if you guys played SmackDown versus Raw the first game, but they had it where you can injure somebody's body and they couldn't use like a certain like then they'll be like fatigued and everything. They couldn't do certain moves. It was crazy. But yeah, like having that knowledge in the upper hand is very 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 good, very powerful.
For
Uh,
sure.
one of the last things I do want to mention. Okay, so uh, how do you? I guess we talked about it earlier, but sort of didn't touch on it. Is the transition? What gear aspects you want to let people know not to freaking worry about? Stop worrying about it. And what I mean by the people, I mean like the people who the Exart heads, the AC heads, the AC plus R heads, and even maybe some people from other games. Like what do you don't want them to worry about when it comes to Strive that you see that Strive has in terms of like the elements of it that are really good for gear players and just what do you tell them? Just let them know what not to worry about.
Honestly, nothing. That's all I can say about it. Nothing. You know why? Because strive is strive, and you have to play strive as strive. Strive in your head is not what strive is in front of you. What you want strive to be is not what strive is on release. Like and it's something we've had problems with. And Dragon Ball is a big problem with it early on. People wanted Dragon Ball to play a certain way. I want Dragon Ball to have push block. I want and that was a big thing, right? I wish Dragon Ball had push
Oh
block.
my
Oh
god,
man,
yeah.
push block, push block, push block. But like reflect is such a strong mechanic, and you have to play Dragon Ball like it's Dragon Ball. I don't like auto combos. Well, I guess you're not playing Dragon Ball. I mean, I still like the game, but so if you play Bardock, you better mash 5LL and get your damage. Play your neutral. That's how that character's supposed to be played. That's how he evolved. Yeah, but I don't want to whiff. Well, that's just part of the character. Like you have to like it goes back to accepting and acknowledging that this is what the game is. I don't think that anyone has any reason to worry honestly about Strive at this stage in the game because it's not fully done yet. There's not full release. We have beta in like another week, yeah, but like the reason why I say don't worry about this game right now, in terms of like, oh, it's not like my character's not the same. Instant block's different. Yeah, it's a new game. It should be different. Like everything, like this should be a new experience. Like you don't go watch, Avengers 1, right? And then go watch Avengers 2 and expect to watch Avengers 1 while watching Avengers 2. You don't watch Endgame to go look for Batman Returns. You don't watch, each thing should be a new experience. Each game should be a new experience. Like I understand there's some things you play where you get a lot of the same old, right? I'll give you an example of that. Big fan of the Mega Man X series, right? And when Mega Man X first came out, it was very revolutionary. Mega Man X1, Mega Man X2, very revolutionary games. Get to three, it's still kind of doing a lot of the same thing. You get to four, it's like, oh snap, I can use zero, but it still uses a lot of the same formula. Now, I understand on some front these games are very cookie cutter, but each time you play the game, there's new bosses. We'll just pull the story aside, but these bosses are different. They're pretty crafty. But I know what people are listening to this are going to say, but it plays the same, sure. And then you get to these other games, or in other movies and stuff like that. But I think the underlying theme is there's a different experience. Like like there's gonna be some tried and true things there. There's gonna be some things that are familiar with, and then there should be things that should be different. And overall, the characters still feel like the characters. It still feels like Guilty Gear. It's just different. It's a different way to play the game, and we just have to accept these things. And I guess the thing I could throw out here really briefly about the game's design is it's the game's design is all about you not making mistakes and playing good neutral. And I know what you're thinking. Every fighting game is like that, sure. But the damage is high in this game to teach you to not make mistakes. This was like this in BB Tag. This is another game that they made before where they had high damage output. And guess what? When you watch the game now at high level, sure, the damage is still high, but people are so good at neutral that they reduce their ability to take damage. Or if they are taking damage, they're not always in a position to take a full combo. And you may get nicked out the air, maybe eat something small, but you're not going to eat like a full. You're not always going to eat a full B&B into a knockdown in some other situation, right? Sometimes it's okay. I guess it's a stray hit, and that's another thing about fighting games, right? Taking a stray hit, turning it into something. And I feel like Strive is big on that. And there's so many things that aren't even being looked at, like single hit confirms, how to utilize clash frames to like deal with tech, which I have a video about that coming out really soon, mind you. There's so much in the game that we haven't even looked at. There's just so much surface level, oh my character can't do this. But did you think about how this affects the system? And literally, I want more people to like not worry about what you don't have and look at what you do have and think of the system and how you can utilize the system to your advantage for your play style and how it can work for your character because there's so much in this game that I've already seen from just the little bit of time that I had labbing previously in the previous beta, and I'm just like, how can anyone say this game is like too simple or whatnot? Because no one talks about IFD. No one talks about how they, instant block to punish certain things, or what have you. No one's talking about any of that though, or how to throw burst and or just none of that stuff. Like it's just I lost this tool. This game sucks. I lost this combo. This game sucks. I'm no more pre-order. I'm not gonna do this anymore. Like this game sucks. Oh, okay, but it's not done. um, let them finish the game. Well, I'm still taking away my pre-order because Leo can't do back turn combo. All right, man, you got it, dog. You know, I guess you can't have your cake and eat it too, but everything in the game is done deliberately, so you don't really have anything to worry about. Like, yes, I will sit here and say with a straight face that the first version of almost every single fighting game always is not the best version. It's not. But it's also sometimes some of the most fun you can get because some of the things they leave in there from the beta that doesn't seem too overbearing and it's just like fun stuff that you can do, it's there, you can utilize that until they decide to take it away. But if it's too good, then you can anticipate that not being there in the next patch, maybe not the next version, et cetera, et cetera. And the game's going to evolve. Like we don't even have a meta yet and people are saying the game sucks. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like uh, but yes, I don't feel like anyone has anything to worry about, to be honest. I think just know that Arc System Works has made a lot of your favorite games. People love Dragon Ball, people like Grand Blue, people like Guilty Gear, people like Blaze Blue. Like they've made a lot of good fighting games, and there's almost no way they're gonna set up their flagship franchise Guilty Gear to they're not going to set it up for failure. Why would they do that? They want people to play. There's no way. It's like, hey man, we're about to launch this new burger, and we don't want it to do good. We're just going to sabotage it. Like, why would any restaurant sabotage like good? Why would any good restaurant or even mid-level, mid-grade restaurant that has a good rep? Why would they want to ruin their integrity with the people by offering a terrible product? That just doesn't make sense to me. Like, especially with how much they've refined it. And, when you take things into consideration, I say this all the time. Guilty Gear Strive is the first Guilty Gear game in history where the entire world has feedback. It's one thing when I'm watching Japan loc test and only Japan loc test, and I'm like, man, I sure wish I could mess with that. Like, for just for perspective purposes, right? It's kind of long-winded here, but Chip, I'll never forget this. In Guilty Gear XX Slash, they gave Chip's second Rekka an FRC point to do his regular B&B, and they left it in every loc test. And I was like, oh man, they gonna leave that in here. They are so crazy. And mind you, the very first load test of that game, he had FRC Gamma Blade. And I was like, they really want me to win in this game. I'm so happy. They took that away next load test. I was like, okay, that's fine. He still has Rekka FRC, whatever. We in there. But the damage was scaled a little bit. Man, they took that out. I was like, damn, they really didn't want my boy to win. But he's still a super good character. It's like not everything that's in beta is always gonna stay. And his FRC teleport was like a 2 frame, 3 frame window. They made it a 1 frame FRC in Slash, and it became a 2 frame in AC. So it's like, sometimes you just have to accept some things ain't gonna stay in the beta. And like the health of Guilty Gear XX Slash would have been really bad if Chip in second Rekka FRC. The amount of people that would play him and or be upset at him for being able to just get damage and continue pressure for 25 meter just with that alone. And it was a 2 or 3 frame window FRC too. It's like y'all don't want that. There's some things that don't need to stay in the beta builds. Like they're there because it's fun. Imagine if Mika, like what was it, beta 2 Mika had all that crazy stuff. Imagine if she had that in season 1. Like all that wild stuff that she had, all those crazy stun combos and stun mix-ups she had, like nah, man. And she still had a whole bunch of crazy stuff as season 1 like evolved, and it's like you want her to have all that and then the other stuff people find. Like people think that the discovery port, like the discovery portion of a game starts and stops with the beta, dude. Their full release ain't even happened yet. Like the masses haven't even had their chance to digest what's going on in the game, let alone the amount of people who still don't even play, who still haven't even touched the beta. Because you gotta think about people who are on PC that can't even touch the beta, who don't have a console. So like, imagine how many people that are gonna be doing, testing stuff out there. Like, there's so many people, and it's like your feedback matters. But at the same time, like negativity feeds off negativity. Are we trying to say there's nothing positive about Strive? Like every time I turn around, it's like this game sucks. It's like really. So what's good? Oh man, I just started playing Guilty Gear, but I know that the best Guilty Gear is actually Core Plus R. No, the best Guilty Gear is the one that resonates with you the most. Maybe by popular opinion that maybe this is that, but like whatever, it's like anything that resonates with you, that's the one. Like if this resonates with you, that's the one. For me, it's the whole series. I'm here for the long haul, baby. I'm here to see my boy Chip Zanuck become president. You know, I'm here to see him do it. I'm here to see him. I'm here to see it to the point to where Chip hasn't a freaking apprentice, and like there's Chip's out of the game, but he's there as the wise guy, but has a ninja apprentice. I'm here for that. I'm here to see the whole thing. I love the series. But like a lot of times, people forget games resonate with you, and like we have to stop just regurgitating that like XYZ influencer says that this is the best one, so it must be the best. No, 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 no. Do you like it? I think I do. Do you like it? I think I do. Do you like it? Yes, I do. Okay, it resonates with you.
Oh
It resonates
man.
with you. Like it should like things should resonate within, and you should be able to develop your own thoughts and how you feel about something. It's like, do you let your homeboys decide what girl you date? Do you let your homeboys decide what job you get? Do you let your homeboys decide? You know what I'm saying? Do you let
Some
somebody
people,
else?
hey,
Son.
some people are peer pressured into that, but I look, I don't, I have no say in that. Look, that's what their life, that's what they do, and they get into that. But hey, you do
I'm
you.
just saying. I'm just saying. No, I mean, I'm just saying. Like, hey, you know what? This top influencer on YouTube says that I should get this kind of girlfriend, and you go and you find out that's not what you like. You find out that what you like is the exact opposite. Like, don't let the influencers, even myself, but even then, what I say about me in particular, I'm here to provide perspective, right? I'm not here to tell you how to think. I'm here to give you perspective. So, I encourage free thought. I give you a perspective. Casey gives me a perspective. We could talk about it and be objective and be like, okay, I think this, or I think this too. And it's okay to come to a point to where you agree to disagree. But like, think for yourself. Come on, guys. Like, Strive is shaping up to be something great. If you want my honest opinion, and even people who've never really played Guilty Gear all rushing to go play Guilty Gear because hey, man, we got rollback netcode. Hey, I'm happy. I want more people to play. And for those who don't want to play, hey, that sucks. It sucks to be you. I hate that you don't want to play. I would love it if you did, but if you don't want to play, that's okay because there's still plus R. If you want to play XR, all those things are still there. Enjoy yourself. Like I'm gonna say this, no matter where I go, no matter what podcast, video, whatever, I want people to enjoy Guilty Gear as I did. Right? I'm the biggest Guilty Gear fanboy you're ever going to meet. And like there's always a part of Guilty Gear that we can all celebrate and appreciate together. be it with Strive, be it with Xrd, all the Guilty Gear games can be underneath one roof. We don't have to have it where it's like, I know some of the Smash scenes are kind of segregated. No, I want Guilty Gear to be all together. It doesn't matter if you play Xrd, it doesn't matter if you play AC or you play Strive. We should be able to be underneath one roof, play together, and appreciate the series that brought us here in the first place. So long-winded, but yeah, you have nothing to worry about at the end of the day.
Man.
Yeah, I like that, man.
You were right about the whole when games they go through changes, and it's mostly those changes. Those patches are because of us.
Oh man, we're talking about that on my stream a lot. Hey, these changes in the game because of the complaints of like understand that your complaints from the previous iteration shapes the future of what our next games are going to be. It doesn't matter what genre. It's fighting games, MOBAs, shooters, whatever.
Yep.
All of our complaints, they shape the patches, they shape the game. So if you complain about this in Dota, then here's League. You complain about this in League, well here's Smite, here's Vainglory, etc., etc. It's just like there's all these mad games, B. So it's like,
the
yo,
no, the number one thing that comes to my mind is Marvel and DBFZ. How drastically so Marvel started off as a very very heavy rush down game, and then there was one player that started to change all that in terms of Marvel 3 was Chris G's Morgan Doom. And now everybody's like, oh my god, because everybody at the time was like, man, this game's too rushed down. We need zoners. And then Capcom actually listened. I remember in one article they was like, yeah, and if you can notice this with the DLC they did or with the added characters they did from vanilla to ultimate, how it's was it Doctor Strange, Hawkeye, and what's the other one? They're mostly zoners, and it's because they actually listen. It was like, look, we're gonna put more zoners in the game. We're gonna make the game a little bit more zoner heavy, and just try to cater to that. And then guess what happened? Morgan Doom happened. Oh, this game sucks. Boo, Morgan Doom. Blah blah blah. And then you mean to tell me other devs weren't looking at that? They just was like just gonna make their own fighting game, with being blind to everything else that's going on around the world? No, I'm pretty sure the people at Namco and Arxis was like, you know what? We're gonna make a Marvel style game, but we definitely not gonna make it too because we see what the top players are doing with Marvel 3. So we're gonna make it for at least where you can at least have your turn at some point in the match. That's why there's so many ways in that game to have your turn. Whether it's reflect or whether it's when you lose, the character dies, comes back in, or another character comes in. You somehow at some point have your turn. So yeah, they saw that in the past, and it's like, we don't want to make that same mistake. We want to invite people, and we're also want to cater to what's going on or what people don't like. And about the changes thing, man. I have a personal thing where I started off with Mega Man X because you mentioned Mega Man. I have to get this off. I was playing Mega Man. I was definitely one of those Mega Man X people, and then Battle Network came out, and I hated Battle Network, and all my friends played it, and it was like, no, Battle Network was pretty cool. I was like, no, it sucks. The X is not in it, Zero's not in it. And they're like, but it's pretty fun, and the story is it's not bad, and the gameplay is really really good. You should play it. No. And then I don't even remember how I got my hands on it. I think I just was dabbling around with it one day at my friend's place. I was like, yo, I played it. I started getting the cards and stuff and the groove of the game together and the pacing. I was like, yo, what? This game is actually pretty fun. He was, yeah, you tried it out and you liked it, huh? I said, yeah. I was like, whoa, I didn't expect that. Yeah. You didn't expect to try out something to like it. and if I remember, he pretty much let me have the game. And I was like, whoa, thank you. It's and then about also another thing I want to touch on is CBS is I think Strive being a high damage game. A lot of people don't realize this, but games where you have huge consequences like that, especially in a 1v1 fighter, could turn into a slower paced game. It could be
absolutely
because we've seen in the past with in CBS 2. I'm pretty sure, yeah, CVS2 was rushed down, started off probably, right? People were going in. 100%. And near the end, all you saw was down back. And then people was like, oh, and now it's one of the footsie god games of all time. But I could go on another story about that. But these changes, man, it's like people have to let it sit,
Yeah, the DBFZ you got when you bought the game and take it out of your box, and then when you're playing now, They
Oh
might as well be
shit,
two
bro.
different fighting games. That period.
Yeah. But no, like no point stands across like with that game, it's like it was super rushdown heavy, and they just did not want to run into that problem of zoners because a lot of newer players, not just like at top high level, a lot of newer players hate that more than rushdown because they don't get to literally interact. Like it's one thing to not interact with like maybe like an Eno or Amelia or a Cammy is knocking you down, or a Ken or somebody Akuma in Street Fighter 4 doing set play already all day. It's one thing not to interact like that, but to literally visually see a character full screen away and the other character full screen away not being able to go in and move, that's even worse for a spectator and for newer players in general and casual. So I
I
think
agree.
yeah, that's I like the direction. And yeah, like you said, back to your point, people shouldn't worry.
Shouldn't.
No worries.
You really don't have a reason to worry, man. Like, look, I'll be honest. Like I said, the first iteration of the game, it might not be the best, but it's the stepping stone to get us to the next version, which will end up being better, and the next version gets better. I mean, everyone wants end game on the first game. It's like, nah, dog. You gotta go through. It's like, hey, man, I just bought near a replicant. I cut the game on. All right, I'm trying to be at the end. Nah, dog, you got to start from the beginning to get to the end. Nah, man, where's my DLC pack that puts me at the end of the game? No, you want to know the story? Yeah, we got to play the game. You want to know the story of the meta in this game? You want to know how the meta's gonna shape? You got to play the game. You have to start out. You're not gonna get end game equipment at the start of the game unless you just cheat or something. But whatever. Like, just play. Like, don't worry. Just don't worry. Play Strive.
That's where I'm at with all of this, man. You guys, whoever's listening and they're still skeptical about like any fighting game, not just Strive. Maybe it's the next Multi Blood or the any other fighting game or any game for that matter. Just play. It's okay.
We're not gonna bite. We want you to play.
Yeah, we want to have fun.
I
you know.
want you. I'm gonna say it again. I want you to play the game. I want you to play Guilty Gear. I want you to appreciate it like for what it is. Like, it is a series that, like, it's a fighting game series like no other, man. Like, it has something for everyone, and the music's great, the aesthetics are great, the visual fidelity of the game. Like, think of it this way, right? Everyone keeps trying to outsource ArcSys right now to do their games. And what's the first thing everyone says? Man, I would love it if ArcSys would made a JoJo's game or a Bleach game, but you don't like Strive. But I would love it if they made a Naruto game, but you don't like Strive. But I know that they'll make a good Bleach game or a good JoJo's game, so you don't believe they're gonna make a good Guilty Gear? Like, it's their flagship series, bro. Come on, give them some time. Look at them. Look, the Korean developer outsourced them for DFO. Like, Cygames outsourced them to do freaking Grand Blue. Like, and these, for what it's worth, Grand Blue, despite it's online, it's got a lot more interesting characters now from since season one. Now their season two characters are pretty cool. Now there's a lot more happening in the game as opposed to season one. Like, it's shaping up, and if they retrofit, roll back into that game, which good God, if they do, that game is gonna soar.
Oh
You
yeah.
know,
Oh yeah.
and it's gonna be right there with Strive, and it should be. And same with DFO. And who knows? Maybe they might retrofit. Maybe they'll go backwards and retrofit. Persona Ultimax. The games that people missed. Like, honestly, if ArcSys gets to a point where they retrofit rollback on all their games, like Ultimax and stuff like that, like, imagine a big ArcSys tournament again. Nice payout. It houses all the ArcSys games. It's a beautiful feeling to know that a developer can get all that popping and then get things moving. Like, come on, why? And even then, like, I might end up doing it if the ArcSys don't do it. At some point, do a Guilty Gear Generations tournament, have Plus R, have
Dude, I
Insert, and
just was
Strive.
thinking of that. I was like, that's my dream is to see a Guilty Gear Generations tournament, like a major or something like that.
It would be beautiful to have that because, like I said, just all one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice, and FRCs and YRCs and uppercuts and RCs and blue RCs and instant blocks for all. Like, come on, man! I want everyone to be on that Guilty Gear Nation, man. Let's get it, man. It's gonna be. It'll be like, just imagine just that, the energy in that room to support each game and see each game for what it is and talk to each player from each generation to talk about, like, and when I say generation, is in players who play that game. Like, imagine just talking to, like, I don't know, Teresa, about jamming this game and then jamming and then in that game, or me about Chip in all three games, or whoever about Soul and Kai. Like there's so much, like there's a lot of lore there. You know what I mean? There's a lot to discover and unpack about the players who play the game. Like and I'm sure Arxis would be on board with some shit like that. Like just to see a room of their players and fans and appreciating their game and from its inception to where we are now, it's like, come on, man. To think that Daisuke would not try to make a good product, you know, that man is old. You know what I'm saying? And I see if you really look at Daisuke in these interviews, you see that man be blinking kind of crazy. Like my man don't be getting
Yeah,
no kind of sleep.
even
You can see it.
even though he's blinking kind of crazy, and they kind of touched on this on the first like American Artist interview with the one with Kizzy K and everything. They said he asked, I can't remember what question it was, but they basically relayed back to it's Daisuke's vision, and we want to stick to Daisuke's vision. And I think people get lost in the fact that it's not just a game; it's art.
Yeah.
Um, look at it. Look at the music. Most people didn't. Most people get into gear because of the music. I recognize gear because it was the music. Like,
Mm.
and it's such a beautiful thing to see, and just to you can express it like that artwork in different ways, and you can appreciate it for it's being its own thing. I can imagine like how you said with the whole Guilty Gear Generations thing. You know how Capcom they've had like they have like their little mini concerts and I think even Arxis has done this before in the past, but that can be taken to another level. Maybe like at the Gear Generations, there's like a small concert with different like Guilty Gear songs being played from like different artists. Who knows? It's like,
Yep.
but that's the thing is it's much more. It's just a little. It's bigger than a game because of that artistic way. And when they asked that, or when they relayed that to Kizzy that it's in Daisuke's vision, I was like, that's when I first did it. I was like, all right, I understand. I completely understand. Because I was definitely one of those people that was kind of skeptical about Strive. And I was like, you know what? Once I heard that, I have to respect somebody's art. I don't care who you are, because art is very valuable. And in my opinion, it's very valuable to whoever you are and how you do it. So I was like, you know what? I got to respect it. And I want to see how it goes. And then so far, I'm not disappointed. So,
Yeah, man.
hmm.
I'm you know, I guess like the last tidbit I'll say about just on this little topic here is like I just want to point out here like I'm not me in particular even though like I'm a big Guilty Gear fanboy, I'm not gonna front, but like it's not like I just followed this company blindly. You know, it's not Arxis just alone, right? I believe in Arxis because I believe in Daisuke. That like a lot of the interviews that he's had, which I would suggest you take a look if you can find those things. Like and this is people watching or listening to this, and even you, Casey
Yeah,
and
nope.
Coach, like try to dig deep and find the old articles that a lot of the art books they interview Daisuke in the back a lot of the times, and there's a lot of things he says about Guilty Gear and his vision, and if you can get lucky and find one of the translations, you'll see why I'm such a big why I'm so big on this because his vision of what he wants Guilty Gear to be is what put me in this thought process. This is why I follow it so heavily. Like he has, I don't want to spoil it. If you can find it, go for it. If you need me to tell you, I'll tell
Oh,
you. But
okay.
I
I
think
definitely would do that.
it's going to be more surprising for you there. But it's because of that, like what he believes in with this series and what he's trying to push. Is what pushed me to believe in Arxis so damn much. They've definitely made their fair share of mistakes, but like when you think of also the struggle that he had with that IP, right? He had to make Overture to try to build a whole new universe because he lost, the rights to his characters to Sega. Think of it, and I like people know this but don't really think about it in the moment. And when I say that, like I lived through that, right? I'm not saying that we didn't live through it as a whole, right? But as someone who came up with it, knowing that Accent Core was going to be the last one, and this is where the series was going with Overture, now, I wasn't upset at Overture the game. I was upset because I learned that the old school characters they don't exist. They're owned to Sega owns them. He was going to rebuild the universe with Overture. There was going to end up being another Overture or something to that capacity to introduce more new characters to eventually make a fighting game. And like when he got the rights back to the characters, that was like huge. like having to, because in case people don't know this, Sega played a big part in Guilty Gear actually and their publication. Like, yeah, Sammy published their games, but Reload, I think after Reload, I think is when Sega really took the reins. Because if you go look at Reload, you'll see Sega is actually in the credits of the game, and they're also in the credits of AC as well. So, or some portion of Sega is in the AC credits. So it's like, damn, when you really start putting things together, Sega legitimately just Sega in Japan is definitely on some weird stuff when it comes to how they go about licensing and stuff like that. And I'm not saying people should go hate on Sega. If you want to, feel free. But you know, it's just Sega. You think about it, right? As a fan, like Sega denied them. Sega took away. Sega almost single-handedly killed Guilty Gear, and I won't say killed it, but like he had to start over. And like there was a point in time where like they retconned everything from the XX series completely. Like it was Guilty Gear X, right? And then boom, we got into what's it called? Overture. So I think it goes X and then part of XX and that's it. So all the Robokais and stuff like that, like none of that existed. I want to say, well, no, because he still exists in XX. Actually, I don't think about it, but essentially everyone just got wiped. Like it didn't matter anymore. Like don't even they're not even mentioned. They just lightly touch on Dizzy, in that story, and it's like here's all these new characters: Doctor Paradigm, Sin, and all this stuff, and it's like, damn, man. All right, well, I guess I'll wait for Overture 3, and then we'll get another fighting game after that, right? Nope. Enter Blaze Blue, and then eventually they end up getting the rights back to the characters, and then that's when the Plus R stuff happened. And to me, it's just like, and to think he retconned all that, he completely debunked all that stuff in XX, and then said, "Oh, just kidding, we got our characters back." So all that actually did happen.
It
It
just
went
mix it all
from
together.
yeah, he's like, yeah, all that, yeah, everything that happened there, yeah, it all happened. I was like, thank the heavens, But that was a short period of time where it was kind of like dark for Guilty Gear, And you think about all the projects that they did prior to that time in order to get the money to get their freaking characters back. Hard Course Uprising, people don't talk about that, but that's Arc Sys Contra that they got outsourced by Konami to do a Contra game, and then Blaze Blue. So it's like you had these games that were out, and it's like I said, big Arc Sys fanboy. I know all the stuff that came out. Battle Fantasia lost them money, all kinds of things. So it's like, man, I just believe in that man's vision, and he's got a crew of people to help him see that vision through till the time he decides to retire. You know, so yeah, I'm gonna be here regardless to see it till he's done. I'm here to see Guilty Gear till he's done. Straight
That's
up.
what's up. Can't wait to see old little Chip Jr. out there doing work.
Hey, if Guilty Gear still gets let on, and I have kids in the future, hey man, my kids are gonna know the legacy, and if they want to, pursue that, to whatever capacity, hey, even on a casual level, that's fine by me too. Hey man, this is what I believed in. Here, here's my hitbox.
That's
Go
what's up, man.
go pick up Dad's legacy
Hey
or
man,
whatever.
but man, yeah, shout outs to Daisuke and shout outs to Arxis and that whole team, man. Like now, I'm more grateful after hearing that story, and I'm about to go in a deep dive later on tonight. So a deeper hole to find those interviews. But man, like I'm all out of things to say, man. I think I've said all I could say, and I think everybody who's probably listening can hear all they could probably hear, and hopefully got something good out of it, man. Because we care about you guys. So, is there any last thing you'd like to say?
Well, naturally, definitely thank you for having me on here, Casey. This is I've been waiting for this for so long. And I'm just so I don't know. I've just been so excited to just be out here on a podcast, someone's video, whatever, to just rap about Guilty Gear and the state of the game, the players, the whole nine. Like anything and everything to help grow the scene. I'm all about it, and I'm just grateful to be here and be a part of history here on this podcast with you guys and you too, Coach. Like this is it's been a wonderful time here, and I will tell you openly, I'm down to do it again. You just say when, and I'm here. And for all the people listening, like you know, check me out. Twitch ShinKensou, YouTube ShinKensou. Uh, TikTok, just Kensou, because
Oh,
that's the mix up there. But I am on TikTok. I'm trying to get things moving there. I got a lot of content myself. I'm trying to push out here for Guilty Gear. I want to teach you guys Guilty Gear to whatever capacity. Do not be afraid to ask questions. And with that being said, don't just support me, support the guys here on this podcast. Because they take time out their day to do this. This is it's hard work, believe it or not, to try to get these things out here in this publication and whatnot. These guys they do good work. So keep up with the podcast as well. These guys do good work. So support all the content creators. You know what I'm saying? Support Guilty Gear to the fullest, and hey, hopefully I'll get games with you guys. At some point.
for sure, man. And I appreciate the sentiment, and I was definitely glad to have you on. Your insights were really enlightening. I definitely love the passion you have for Guilty Gear, and I think you properly, expressed that to everyone listening. So, like you said, give the game a chance, get in there, and go in there with an open heart and open mind, and you might find something you truly love.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you for joining us again. Like I said, joining me and Coach. Without people like you, I probably wouldn't even be still going today with not just fighting games, but just in life. Man. And also, I just want to put this out there. Everybody, go check out Archives at Midnight, Guilty Gear, ShinKensou retrospective. It's a really good documentary about the man here, the one and only ShinKensou. It's you guys will probably be surprised at how a guy like this man is. So yeah, check it out.
I
So
still,
That's right.
I still gotta
yeah,
go watch that myself, man.
yep, yep.
You'll be in for a treat. And he has two other things that he did as well. That was a part of that sequence that we were that exchange, if you will, that we had. There's two more videos where I talk about the Japan scene and whatnot. But I guess I will throw that out there. Thank you for saying that. Yo, shout outs to Archives at Midnight. That guy's a
Mm.
god. That guy's a god. Please, that documentary is godlike. He has really awesome editing skills. I want to just throw that out there.
Yeah, people, please, FGC, support him because that's like some high level stuff right there. When I was watching it, I was like, damn, am I watching a Netflix documentary? It's like
Right?
really like that. It's good, man. Whew, he's got
Yes.
talent.
It's some heat.
Yeah.
It's definitely some heat. It's some heat.
For anyone who doesn't know, that's Space Detective. He was like really good in the recent Sam show, and yeah, he just started regaling us with his amazing